So here's the thing that no one wants you to know. Excellent service can save a bad meal, but an excellent meal can be ruined by bad service. We think it's time that the front of the house got the spotlight they deserve. Welcome to Dine Dish, where the business of dining meets the art of hospitality. Well, welcome again, everybody, to another episode of Dine and Dish. I'm Michelle, of course, Restaurant Diva, and we have an exciting guest today. I'm so excited. I had the pleasure of meeting her on a trip for my 15th anniversary. We actually, Jannar and I took a trip to Little Washington, Virginia. And I met the most amazing person. And I said, when we were there, I said, oh my God, would you ever be on my show? And we started talking, and she said, sure. So, long story short, I just want to introduce her. Her name is Amanda Huff. She's the innkeeper and on-site manager of Foster Harris House in Little Washington, Virginia. And we'll get into what she does and why her area is so cool and famous in just a minute. But hi, Amanda. How are you?
Hi, Michelle. I am so good. Thank you for having me on. I'm excited to talk today.
I know. Well, I know it's been a little back and forth getting you over here because you haven't been feeling so well. So I'm so excited that we finally made this happen.
Oh, me too. Yeah, the joys of hospitality. Sometimes it just runs us down a bit, but I'm feeling great now and just, yeah, super excited to dive in.
Good, good. So, before we get started, I just have to ask because I know you live in such a small little town, and you got to tell me about Halloween. How was your holiday? Was it crazy there? Do you guys go all out? And I'll kind of tell you what I did, but I'd love to know in your little town how Halloween is.
So Halloween is quite the event. Every holiday is out here. So the village has less than 100 people, but we have a three-star Michelin restaurant on our main street, and the Michelin restaurant leads the charge. So they do full-size candy bars, which means that everybody's coming from every town in the surrounding county so they can get the goods. And so we all participate. We all have candy, we dress up, they do events. And so, yeah, lots of fun. Thankfully, this year, the kids did a great job and took all the Halloween candy. So I did not have to deal with the leftovers. Thank you, kids. I love you
Yeah.
guys.
All right. So, what did you dress up as?
So I mean, I was working, I had guests in house, so I didn't dress up too much. I just had some cute little kitten ears and a flannel on because it's already chilly here. So
Yeah, I'm sure. I'm sure. Well, good. Well, you kind of gave away the meat and potatoes of our show today. We were talking about your little town being so famous because you have an amazing three-star Michelin experience, walking distance. So, one of the reasons we actually met each other, I think it was 17 years ago, Jannar and I stumbled on the Foster Harris house. We were celebrating, I think it was our 1 year anniversary dating. And we decided to go to the Inn of Little Washington for um, an amazing dinner and experience. And the inn was sold out, and they happened to recommend us staying at the Foster Harris house. And now, fast forward, it's our 15-year anniversary. And same thing, we decided, you know what, we're going to go back and we're going to celebrate at the Inn of Little Washington because the food and the energy and what Chef Patrick does is just so amazing. I mean, just the property, and we'll talk about that in a minute. But they recommended the Foster Harris house, and I couldn't remember where we stayed. And then we pull up, and I said, oh my God, I think this is where we stayed 17 years ago. And then you showed us to the room, and we put everything down, and Janara snuck in to see the front little room. And he's like, we stayed here. We stayed here. So it was just so amazing to bring back these memories from 17 years ago. Now, fast forward, celebrating a 15-year anniversary at the same inn, at the same three-star Michelin restaurant.
I love it. And I'm so glad you guys found your way back to us and I got to meet you both and just be part of it. And yeah, and so what's great about these historic properties is they do hold a lot of memories for people, and they are spaces that people come back to. And we love the inn, and we are so grateful to be part of a community that celebrates what Chef Patrick is doing. And
Yeah.
so it's just an honor to be recommended by them to help host people to have these great experiences. And so love that you guys came
Yeah.
back.
I know. It's so exciting. So, let's talk a little bit about an innkeeper role because, being in hospitality, our show is all about hospitality and service in the front of the house and talking about the guest experience and why it's so important because obviously every show, and we've brought this up in other weeks in our podcast, it's the star is always the back of the house. It's always the chef. It's always about what he's doing and what recipe. And obviously that's what your town is all about, just being a 3-star Michelin chef. But um, we definitely want to focus on hospitality and service. So I thought it'd be really cool to talk about your role as an innkeeper and still hosting guests. But I mean, obviously, your expertise is breakfast and service. But can you talk a little bit about your role and how you play into front of the house service and hospitality, and how your guests enjoy your service in an inn?
Yeah, absolutely. So hospitality is it's one of the easiest and hardest career paths in the world.
Huh?
Easy
Yeah.
in
Who
that,
are you kidding? That's the truth.
yeah, easy in that if you have the gift for it, you excel because it truly is a gift and it's something that you need to enjoy, but difficult in the space that you really don't turn off. You don't have that, that alone time, especially as an innkeeper. I live where I work, and I am heavily involved in not only just the maintenance and the care of the house, but also everybody coming. I want to make sure they feel comfortable, they feel safe and seen. If they have shared that they're celebrating something and they want help celebrating or suggestions, you just want to be a part of all of that. And so I think as an innkeeper, hospitality looks a little different in that we are creating almost like a second home and
Yeah.
this little homecoming. You really want comfort to be key. You want safety to be key. And you want it to feel like the guest is so familiar and so comfortable in the home that they just don't have any issues.
Yeah.
And so it looks a little different than, say, a hotel or a larger venue in that way. It's very personal. And so my goal is to get to know the guests. My goal is to get to know their needs and anticipate them before they have to ask, but also for them to feel so comfortable that if they want to sit in the living room and chit chat, they can. If they want to be alone, they can. If they want to go read in the backyard, they can.
Yeah.
And just creating that space of almost a home away from home. That is
Yeah.
key.
So you said something very important, and I really believe it is the heart of hospitality. It's that emotion behind exceptional service and hospitality, and you know, it's definitely that emotional role and that emotional connection. And hospitality is all about that. And when you're talking about making them at home because they're staying in somebody else's home, you did such an amazing job. I mean, Jannar and I loved it. We felt so welcome. We felt safe. It was comfortable. I mean, obviously, we love the inn. We've been there before. But the background of, coming from a traditional restaurant or a traditional, um, service role and then transferring your talents into being an innkeeper had to be an interesting transition. So, can you talk a little bit about like what your background was, how you fell into being an innkeeper? Were you always in hospitality, and why you stay in this role and stay in hospitality, especially because you mentioned something so interesting, which most people probably couldn't do, but moving to a town that only has 100 people.
Yeah, yep. It's definitely surprising to say the least. Some days. Well, I love that question. So, I grew up in Southwest Florida, coastal city, islands, and so hospitality was everybody's bed and breakfast, or not bed and breakfast, but there were bed and breakfasts. There were a lot of restaurants, a lot of country clubs, and that was just what everyone did. You
Yeah.
dove into hospitality, and
Okay, you went
so
from Florida
yeah,
with so many people and warm weather
yeah.
to 100 people in the mountains where it gets pretty cold.
Yes. A county called Rappahannock in the middle of nowhere, and in a tiny town that even locals that live 30 minutes away have never heard of. And so it's very obscure out here. I will say the transition for me was kind of beautiful. You know, some of our cities, I think everyone can relate to our cities, our towns, our homes feeling really stuffed lately. You know, people just looking for safe, great places to live.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of people. And then that increases cost of living. Sometimes that increases crime. Sometimes that increases just all sorts of things, housing issues. And so coming out here was actually almost like a medicine to me. I came out here and it was a little shocking. And then it was just beautiful. There was a space where we have virtually no crime out here. We have, like I said, about 100 people in the village, and that's not full time. I would say full time is a little bit less. And everybody knows everybody. There is no anonymity in this town. If you have a bad hair day, everybody's going to know. But you slow down, and life just becomes simpler. And it was beautiful. It was hard at first, I won't lie, especially when you had a day off and you go, well, what am I going to do? There's nothing to do out here.
Well,
um,
actually, let me stop you for a second. You
yeah.
told me a funny story when we were there, and you said, you just mentioned, oh, what am I going to do? There's nothing to do. Well, you told me some funny stories about your walks and the bears.
Yes. Yeah. I often, I enjoy a little walk to our library. It's quiet and it's hilly. And then I'm walking and, you know, a bear just runs in front of me. He was crossing the road, and it's just kind of part of life out here.
Florida girl is now dodging bears.
Yeah, and you know what? I think that Florida upbringing, you know, I have that Everglades gator hunting, python hunting gal in
Yeah.
me, and so for me, I was more just like, okay, bear, keep going. I'm tired. So
I can't even imagine. Okay, well, I am definitely not the country girl. I'm more the city girl. So I don't know how I would have handled a bear crossing on the road, but you know,
yeah,
Lord power.
to be fair, you know, yeah, he had a place to be. I had a place to be. We didn't
Yeah.
really, you know, interact. So I think if he would have tried to interact with me, that might have been a different story.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
So
yeah.
so go back to what we were talking about. So your background, was it always in hospitality?
So it started in hospitality, and then I got a degree in social work. And so
Okay.
I was in hospitality probably from 15 to about 25, 26, got my degree, and then I started working in social work. And that was a really big passion of mine. I love people. I've always loved people. It's probably why I was good at hospitality,
Yeah.
and I'm highly organized. And I noticed that that was a gift early on. And so social work made sense because that's the point is you love people and you help organize the things that are a little disorganized in their life, help with crisis, whatever it may be. And
Yeah.
so I did that career for almost 13 years in different capacities, absolutely loved it. But like most social workers, was starting to feel really burnt out, really struggling, you know, just like getting ahead financially. And I was considering going back into hospitality for a while. And I often refer to social work as a different kind of hospitality.
Oh,
And
for
so
sure.
I don't think that I ever really left the hospitality world in that sense. But but I was looking for something different to expand my career and my future and take care of myself a little bit more.
Yeah.
And let's be honest, an innkeeper, I mean, what sounds more hallmark and adorable than that, right? It's kind of one of those jobs that you think don't really exist in the real world and are a little dreamy. And
Yeah.
so when I saw this posting, I thought, well, I'm going to go for it and see what happens, not knowing that I would even get an interview because most people don't go, oh, she's been working in prisons and addiction recovery centers
Yeah.
and homeless
Oh, yeah,
facilities.
perfect. Right, and now she's gonna run our inn.
Yeah,
But I have to
exactly.
stop I have to say, you said something really funny. So this time of the year is Christmas, and
Mhm.
I love all the Hallmark movies and the shows, and I mean, how cool have you ever filmed any type of I mean, this is totally off the subject,
Yeah.
but, have you ever done any type of Hallmark filming there? How cool would it be for them to do a little, like, romance Hallmark Christmas story there?
They 100% should. And I don't know who we need to talk to, what network execs need to know about our thoughts and ideas, but it's so charming here. It's so clean and beautiful. I mean, it does kind of look like a movie set, to be fair.
It
No
does.
filming has happened out here, to my knowledge. And so maybe we should kick that off.
Yeah.
But
I
yeah,
mean,
when I
think
took the
about that. How
position
cool
here,
would that be? And
oh,
then
it
you'd
would be
be in
so
a
great.
movie besides just our small little podcast.
Exactly. Well, and so to joke, when I did take the position here, I had several friends tell me that if I fell in love with the Christmas tree farmer down the road, it would just, or the mayor, it would just be perfect. And um, I laughed pretty hard. I was like, well, fingers crossed. Let's see what happens.
Yeah. The other thing that's very funny, and I'm laughing as you're saying it, you're talking about how your whole focus was social work. Well, my whole focus and my degree was in psychology. So I said, you know what, our backgrounds are so similar. We get to deal, I used to call especially working in Florida at the restaurant business, I used to call them the crazies because you get all walks of life and crazies. And I mean, obviously, you're so blessed now being in an inn because hopefully most of your guests are, calm and they're there for a relaxing vacation and they're not at a restaurant in Fort Lauderdale drinking and partying and at the bar. But, having that social worker background and the psychology background, you have such a more calmness and a different way of approaching guests and being able to deal with all different types of situations.
Oh, thank you. That's so kind. Yeah, it takes a lot to rattle me. And I think that, especially in hospitality, because you can be 100% all every day, but you're not going to knock a home run 100% of the time because
Yeah.
some people just, they're struggling or they're having a hard day. They just can't be pleased, and that's okay. And so I think it's really helped keep that peace and that calm. I can maintain a very calm demeanor, and it keeps people that way as well. Fortunately for me, like you said, people are coming out here for quite a special time, and it's very rare I get somebody who is upset or disappointed. And so I'm really blessed in that way because I don't live in like a Fort Lauderdale where service could be mediocre or subpar. I mean, we knock it out of the park out here. And so not to pat ourselves on the back too hard, but what
Yeah.
happens out here is pretty special.
It,
And
it really is. And it brings people back. And, you know, they're also investing. I say investing because the whole experience at the Inn of Little Washington is obviously, a more expensive dining experience. You're in a Michelin star environment. The service is over the top. And we've talked in many shows in the past on our podcast that it's all about the experience and the service. I mean, one of the things that I brought up, and I've talked about it 3 different times on the show, it was even the bread person that brought the bread to the table during our dinner was trained on how to say it and what to say. The sommelier that poured the wine, maybe the next time they came to fill our glasses was somebody else, but they also knew how to speak the lingo and pour the wine, and even though they weren't the trained sommelier. So the experience and the overall training and expertise that goes into everything they do at that inn is just such a wow. And so you're lucky because you're getting the environment. It kind of falls back to the whole town that everybody there just kind of expects that same level of service and professionalism and that personal touch. So it's got to be kind of fun.
it really is. It's fun. It's most days an honor to be part of that experience, especially when you're joining a guest in a celebration or you're joining them in something really important and beautiful and new. And so it's exciting all of the
Yeah.
time. And I find my goal of making this house your home away from home and making you comfortable. I find that the experience at the inn is so spectacular for most guests that when they come back here, they are ready to, like, take their shoes off, relax, and think about all of it, because it's almost like you don't want to miss a thing when you're in that experience. So you're almost on edge a little,
Yeah.
like keep the eyes open, experience everything, order everything, and then you come here and it's like take your shoes off, have a cookie, relax.
All right. Well, that leads into you have to tell us a great guest story. I'm sure you have something that comes to mind that made you laugh or it was somebody famous. I'm sure you see a ton of famous people in town or have stayed in the inn. So I'm sure you have a favorite guest story to share with our listeners.
Yeah, so many. I mean, I've had such beautiful guests, just like yourself and your husband. I mean, you make great connections with people. Some people just don't want to talk. They want to stay in their room, and that's great. I love that. I'm here for your peaceful, relaxful weekend. But some just want to be part of everything. And just a few stories. I had one guest that he and I shared the same birthday, and he was going to the inn to celebrate his birthday with his whole family. And the whole family rented the house and they had bottles of champagne. And when they learned it was also my birthday, they were like, absolutely, Amanda, you are drinking some champagne with us. They poured me a glass. We were laughing, had music going. Um,
So
I've
your house
also
turned into the party house on the
my
street.
yeah, it was the birthday time. It wasn't too much of a party because they were on their way to dinner. I was on my way to pajamas and relaxing, but so fun and so kind for them to just invite me in, and I became part of the family.
Yeah.
We have hosted our vice president and his wife and many Secret Service men, and that was wild and so fun, and such an honor. We've hosted authors and um, we've hosted broadcasters. And, I think we've even hosted weddings here and had elopements in the backyard and
Wow. Okay.
whole families just celebrating. And so I think it's the memories that get made here,
Yeah.
and how sweet it is to be a part of that, even if my part is just making sure everything is just so and tidy and welcoming and lovely. It's an honor to be part of people's special moments. And so, and I consider it a mission of mine to bring peace into people's worlds. And so a lot of people are coming from really hard jobs or just an exhausting season, and this is like their moment to rest.
Yeah.
And my hope is that they find peace here and they find that rest, especially if they're only here for a night or two. And so
Yeah.
so when I hit those moments with those guests, and they tell me they just feel so well rested, they slept great, they feel peaceful because we don't have TVs. We are off the grid out here mostly. Most people's cell phones don't work, and so it's really lovely.
Oh, yes. So I will definitely second that there are no TVs, there's no cell phones. I have a funny story to tell you. So the first time we dined at the Inn of Little Washington, it was like I said, 17, 18 years ago. And back then, I don't even think the Wi Fi was even working. And, you know, I'm here in this little town. We're what, 2.5, 3 hours from home, no phones. I was freaking out because I said, oh my God, what happens if I can't get a hold of my kids? What am I going to do? I literally begged the inn. I was like, can I please borrow your phone? I just want to check in so they know I'm alive. Because I mean, this is our first time out in this little town, and now fast forward, same thing. And I'm calling my daughter, and as we're getting into town, I'm like counting down the minutes. I'm like, okay, here we go. 10, 9, 8. The phone call drops and it's like no service. And you get the little SOS on your phone. So you know
Yeah.
you're not making any calls. I'm like, welcome to the Inn of Little Washington, where you have no service, no TV, and you are literally off the grid.
Yes, as off the grid as maybe a first world country wants to be, I guess. We do have
Well, now there's
electricity
Wi
and
Fi.
plumbing.
So that's good.
Yeah. And so, but there's a space of just, I think that helps people rest
Yeah.
because we don't need it all, especially when you're about to experience so much. And again, we've talked, the town itself is charming. Going for a walk
Yeah.
It's worth it.
Oh, yeah. Wait. So we did the walk because you told us to go for a walk.
Yeah,
So Jannar and I decided, okay, we're going to walk down the street. We're going to go take exploring, and we chose Chef Patrick's little trail. The little trail that goes by the little store there,
yes,
and go back to see um, the chickens. And I mean, he has obviously his chickens in this beautiful home. It has a chandelier, and it's definitely the same touches that you would see at the Inn of Little Washington. And then, of course, the alpaca. First off, the alpaca was so cute. I have pictures and videos. They had me feed it. I mean, it was a little, first off, it had eyelashes. I think it had nicer eyelashes than I did.
yeah,
But it was, I mean, this most beautiful experience. And I'm thinking to myself, okay, I'm definitely not cut out for, the farm life. And my husband's like, see, isn't this great? We can totally live, off the grid and in the farm. And then of course I take pictures and I show my little 6-year-old Vivi, and she's like, oh my God, no fair. I want a chicken. I want an alpaca. And I thought, oh my God, this is not my kind of living. I'm a city girl, but it was so amazing. Everybody there was so hospitable, and it was it was wonderful. It was a wonderful 2 days.
yeah. Coming out here and being a part of it is a lot of fun. I mean, I'm spoiled, if I'm have a couple hours to kill, sometimes like I'm just going to go walk that little loop. That's where I
Yeah.
go. And so, we're right in the valley. We're surrounded by the mountains. It really is picturesque. And so,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right, so we have to talk a little bit of food. We are a
Yes.
food show, and we had an amazing breakfast. I have to tell you, it was wonderful. So we have to talk a little bit about your menu, what goes into it, who cooks, what happens in the kitchen, the whole front of the house piece. So we have to talk about the inexperience. I mean, obviously, I'm the restaurateur, so I can talk hours on our steps of service in the restaurant industry. But can we talk a little bit about your steps of service in an inn and how they differ from a hotel versus a restaurant versus an inn?
Yeah, absolutely. So thank you so much for praising breakfast. That's always
It was yummy.
It's always just, it warms my heart. So, we do a 3-course breakfast here. We home make everything. And so, if things are in season, we can pull from the local farmers. Everything is made from scratch. And we really take our time to try to figure out what the guest needs because we don't have a menu. We cook what we have. We will accommodate, any kind of food allergy, but we will decide for you. Let's put it that way. It's usually just me. And so we can't cook to order and do all that. But with that being said, because we have the Inn at Little Washington and Chef Patrick down the road, we can't just make you bacon and eggs, right?
Yeah.
There is a standard, and the standard is surprise and delight. That's what I call it. If you're going to have breakfast with me, I want you to be surprised. I want you to find delight in it. I want you to have something that you don't normally have or wouldn't have thought of. And, but at the same time, we are a small business. So we also have to think cost effective. We have to think it's just me most of the time. So, what can I easily prepare for up to 10 people if I'm doing a 3-course meal? And
Right.
so, um, with all of that being said, because we're a bed and breakfast and we don't have full service lunch and dinner, we pour a lot more attention to detail into the breakfast. And the reason we do that, and we don't have full service lunch and dinner, is there are beautiful restaurants surrounding us. We don't need to be in competition. We're also a bed and breakfast. And then part of the charm of staying here is exploring the town and the county and the parks. And so I don't want you to stay here for lunch and dinner. I want you to get out. I want you
Right.
to
Right.
experience why you're out here. And so, from that perspective, what we're trying to do is have you wake up, smelling coffee, have you excited for the top end of your day, especially if it's a checkout day. We want to start you off well. Most of our guests have gone to the inn the night before. I can never and will never try to compete with Chef Patrick O'Connell, but I also don't want my breakfast to drift into the background. I want it to be part of the memory of coming to Little Washington. And so over the years, we have tried different recipes. We have listened to guest feedback. We have experienced what other restaurants or inns are doing and trying to maintain something different, something special, something unique.
Yeah.
And so, with our three courses, we always do a homemade scone, different flavors
My
depending on the type of
favorite.
scone.
I'm such a scone girl. When I saw that on the table, I was like, yes, I love scones.
Yes, I am a scone fan. I had the privilege of going to school for a little over a year in the UK. And so I got to get some good bacon tips. And I will tell you, I'm picky about my scones and I really enjoy ours. So we always start with a homemade scone. And then we have our entree, and then we always finish with a dessert. And so breakfast dessert is kind of a surprise to most people. They think they don't want it until they have it, and then they realize
Oh,
breakfast
I ate
dessert
it. I'm
should
not a
be a
dessert
thing.
person, and I ate it. I ate the dessert.
Breakfast dessert should
Yeah.
be a thing, especially when you're having such a special time away.
Yeah.
And so for us, that experience just matters. We do French press coffee. I grind the beans in the morning. I have that outside of your room early before breakfast, and then we have everything you could need for breakfast afterwards. And so, again, it's just really important. To start that day well and for some to finish their stay with us well.
Yeah. So if you had to pick one signature dish that's your favorite that you've done, I mean, multiple times, it's kind of that defines who you are and your morning, what do you think that would be?
You know, I think because of Patrick and the legacy he has kicked off here, I think my favorite dish and the dish that surprises most guests and that they have not experienced for the most part is our savory crepes. And so we home make our crepes. If it's in season, we'll pull herbs from our garden and fill that into the crepe and give different flavors and textures. We do Parmesan infused eggs and fold
Oh, that's what
out.
you made when I was there.
Yes. And
It
so,
was, oh, it was so good. I sat down, I said, "Oh my God, this is so my breakfast." And I love breakfast, but I'm not a big eater in the mornings. And I saw that, okay, you hit every single piece of that breakfast. You started with the scone. I was like, yes. And then here comes the light eggs in the most amazing thin crepe with this Parmesan. I was like, okay, this is amazing.
thank
It
you
was
so
so
much.
good.
Thank you so much. Yeah. And then we top it with a Béarnaise sauce, and that gives it just a little bit of a tang. Again, these flavor profiles are really light, especially if you just had this massive, gorgeous dinner the night before that's very rich. We don't want to give you a rich American style breakfast. And so we lean more that French country, just light, slightly smaller portions. But I think the crepe is always that surprise and delight moment where everybody gets these gorgeous tastes in, and then they finish with that dessert,
Yeah.
and it's just heaven, and you
All
don't
right.
feel super full, and so it's great.
So I have to ask, would
Yeah.
you be willing to share a recipe with us?
Yeah, absolutely. I
Okay.
can share, I mean, whatever you want, really. No
Perfect.
secret.
So if you could send it our way,
Yeah,
I'll
absolutely.
post it when the show airs so everybody can get a little touch of your secrets and what they can expect. I don't know if we'll be able to make it as well as you, but at least they'll have the ingredients of what goes into it if they want to do a signature breakfast of what they would experience at the end.
Absolutely. I would love it. And yeah, I will tell you, when I moved out here, I tried so many new recipes too. I think the best part is just trying. Worst
Yeah.
come to worst. Nope, didn't like that one. We'll try again, and you find what works for your palate and what you love, and maybe doesn't take an hour and a half to
Yeah.
make.
So I have to tell you, my daughter and I are big tea people. So we chase all different types of tea experiences. And this past weekend, every year we do a mother-daughter celebration for her birthday. And last year we did London, and we always did New York City. That was kind of our tradition. And this year we decided to go back to New York City. And one of the things that I found was they did a wicked tea at the Plaza.
Wow.
And oh my God, you want to talk about an amazing brunch breakfast with homemade scones and little tea sandwiches and beautiful homemade little desserts. And it was so good. And the tea was so good. I think I drank the whole pot of tea myself. But that goes back to that whole signature experience that, we talked about, whether you're at an inn or you're at, a famous tea, or you're going to the Michelin star experience at the Inn of Little Washington. It's that signature touch and the memories and the experience you take away, which is just so special.
Absolutely. Yeah, I am a sucker for a good high tea. I
Yeah.
think that those atmospheres also give space for the people serving you to really give you something special. This isn't like just a burger and fries, right? And it is delicate and it is new and it is not your everyday, run of the mill meal,
Yeah.
and not your everyday service. And so I love a tea service for that because, like you said, I think sometimes depending on what you're hoping and expecting for, it just ups the level of service.
Yeah.
And so if I was doing like a continental breakfast with to-go yogurts in, little containers and a bowl of fruit and a couple of muffins, the service wouldn't be the same as me doing the three-course breakfast, as me, grinding the beans and making your coffee in the morning. I think that you up the ante in a sense when you have these really special meals and these really special recipes. And so I love that you guys got to do that, especially with
Yeah.
like how Wicked is just, such a
Well,
cultural
it's
right
coming out. Wicked 2.
now. Yep.
It's Thanksgiving's almost here and Wicked 2 is going to be released. But can you believe, Amanda, it is almost time for our show to end. And every show we start and we talk about service and hospitality, and we rounded it out back with service. And, at the end of the day, that's what everybody wants. They just want that exceptional service, and they want to build memories. And whether it's at an inn, it's at a Michelin star restaurant, it's at a fast casual, it's at a tea, you're building memories, and you want to leave there feeling that you brought something away. You enjoyed your time, you enjoyed the person that connected with you. I mean, you brought it up a few times about, that sense of emotion and that sense of connection, and building the magic and capturing the magic. So, is there anything that you want to just end the show with? Any advice, or anybody listening in the hospitality or entrepreneur or aspiring innkeepers that you want to just kind of leave the last couple minutes with?
Sure. I can't believe this is all almost over. We
I
we can
know,
just
goes
chit chat
fast.
though. That's good for us. So I would say, going back to my comment at the top of the show, is I do believe that hospitality is a gift. I believe some people have it and some people just don't, and that's okay because they have other gifts. And I will say that every guest I've ever met, worked with, from the hospitality side, the innkeeping side, from the social work side, they can spot when it's fake, it's forced, or it's just not your thing, your gift. And so I think the best advice I can give is being fully genuine in your gift of hospitality. And so if you really want somebody to come into your home or your place of work and feel served and cared for and feel like they were given proper attention, I want, if you want your guests to feel special, if you want them to have a memorable moment, then that is what you need to be doing. If it is just a check the box, um, I'm just here to get my paycheck, I'm just here to clock in, clock out, then that becomes the problem. Every person is going to pick up on that, and it doesn't matter if you give, perfection in service. they're not going to remember it as a place that was
Right.
unique or special. They'll just remember it as, yeah, there wasn't anything wrong with that, but
Yeah.
they won't remember what was right, right? And
Yeah.
so that would be my biggest thing is, if this is your gift, if this is something you love, if it feeds your soul, if it gets you excited, if it warms your heart when somebody tells you, thank you so much, I haven't slept this good in 6 years because I had kids and this is our first trip away from the kids.
Right.
If it isn't those conversations that just like bring you joy, this isn't what you need to be doing.
Right. You got to
And
love what you do.
yes, absolutely, because
Yeah,
they
I
will
agree.
know in a heartbeat if you don't.
I agree. Well, everybody that's listening, DMs are open. We love to hear from you. I'm sure if you have questions for Amanda, she would love to answer them, or she could text us back. You can DM us on Instagram. You can reach out to Restaurant Diva, of course, on my website. And here's another episode gone again. They go so fast, but I will tell you something exciting's coming up in our show in a couple weeks in time for Thanksgiving. I'm actually going to bring Gennaro on, and Gennaro and I are actually going to do a show that should be very funny. And we're going to talk about, what we're thankful for, and talk about the holidays and Thanksgiving and Christmas and catering. So that's coming soon. And Amanda, thank you so much for being on the show. It's been a pleasure. It was a pleasure meeting you and staying with you, and your hospitality was amazing. And maybe you can come back at a future podcast.
I would love it. Thank you so much for having me. And please come back anytime.
I will.
There's still so much to explore and see, and I would love to see you again.
Thank you so much. And here's to another week. And I'll talk to you soon. Have a great
Absolutely.
night. Thank you. Ciao.
Bye.
Bye.